Cool drinks between. Okay. Yes. Yesterday, what we have learned. Geography is not there now. Okay. Just come. First. 154. Okay, what was the record? What we have learned yesterday can be. What from that heading, what we have learned? Can you tell anything? We have seen non-democracies show better performance in the economic growth and development, but still we prefer democracy. Why is it? We have studied democratic governments are looking for that all the aspects. Understood. But non-democracies are thinking only about the profit. So more time it is required when it is related to the development. Geography, why are you taking?
Very so. It is the development.
Democratic politics. Outcomes already, outcomes of democracy. Then we have seen the next part, what was the next part? Not only about this one, reduction in inequality and poverty. In that area also, democracy is page number 70. Okay. Now, why democracy is preferred? We have discussed almost all the aspects of economic front. Now, let us see the accommodation of social diversity. What is the meaning of accommodation of social diversity? Can you try? What do you mean by that? Accommodation of differences. Whether society is having so much differences, how democracy is able to accommodate the difference. In that area also, comparing that non-democracies, democracy is far better. Here, 2-3 quotations I will tell you. That quotations you have to mark. Okay. So here. I'll call that your madam. Where you were sitting, don't waste your time. Sit here only. Not to do any harm on others. See, when we study about that accommodating the differences, the best example is Belgium's example. We have known in the lesson itself. First chapter itself we have studied it. Belgium's accommodation. Do you remember how Belgium have accommodated the differences? Is she there? Is she present? She's not present. So can you tell how that changed the constitution? How many times they have changed it? 4 times. 1970 and 1994. So 4 times. Accommodate the difference. What were the difference exactly? Flemish. Flemish region means population divided into 3 groups: Dutch, French, and German. So, in order to accommodate them, they have made a very good policy. In the central government, they have accommodated the Dutch and in the provinces, the French accommodated the Dutch. So like that, equal distribution, equal number. And in the Brussels, a separate government we have studied. Brussels, that would 80% were the French population. So this all accommodation have been made, and a 4th type of government, community government, was also established in order to accommodate all the people. The same way, in our country, if you are taking, there are so much social divisions. That is society, untouchability, caste system, and so many. But there is a system to accommodate the differences. We are one. We tell that India is one country. So that is what accommodation of social differences. See that. It will be a fair expectation that democracy should produce a harmonious social life. What is the meaning of harmonious social life? Live in harmony. That is different sections of people, different linguistic people, different culture people live in harmony. So that is possible in a democratic country. Okay, that is one point. We have seen in the earlier chapters how democracies accommodate all those things. Democracies usually develop a procedure to conduct their competition. So, first point is that democracy, this point you either underline or write. Democracy, right, develop a procedure to conduct See, of course, we accept that there are differences, and that differences have to be accommodated. That is already the governments are trying to accommodate. But at the same time, the competition, electoral competition, we have studied. And there are so many other ways that majority minority is coming. What is that? A religious minority is there, linguistic majority is there, and when election is taking place, some party get majority. So conduct this differences. There is a procedure. That is one point. Clear? Did you get the correct meaning? How the democracy is trying to conduct the differences. Okay. Then another thing, this reduces the possibility of these tensions becoming explosive and violent. So the procedure we have, that procedure help in reducing that tension from getting into a violent conflict. We know that in many areas, religious violences and many areas, the social disputes are taking place. But there is a method to suppress that one or to control that or from turning into violent, it is controlled. That is the mechanism we can find in this accommodation policy. Did you get it? Now, no society can fully be, Shivam, use it properly. You have to read now. Try to read.
This paragraph.
Second. Let it be. You can.
It is necessary to understand.
No. No society.
No society can fully and permanently resolve conflicts among different groups, but we can certainly learn to respect these differences.
So one way is to respect the differences. See, there is no method or no country can control all the type of problems or solve all types of problems. But there is definitely a method to respect the difference. We have to accept that that person's language is different, but after all, we are one. So, giving respect is one of the way to establish this accommodation. Clear? Next one. Democracy. Democracy is best.
Democracy is the best suited to produce this outcome. Non-democratic regimes often turn a blind eye or a suppressed internal. Social difference, ability to handle
This point you have to underline. This one is very important. Ability to
definite plus point of a democratic regime.
That is that up to that much. Ability to handle social differences, divisions, and conflicts is thus a definite plus point of democratic regimes. See, it is not possible in non-democracies. Non-democracies try to suppress if any differences arise. But a democratic regime are having the ability to handle these differences. Let us take our country. We know that only differences are there. Every aspect we can find the differences. Linguistic, cultural, then food habits, dress habits, every box of that differences there. But after all, we are Indians. So that ability to handle the difference, that is the plus point of democratic regime. So this way the question can be asked, ability to handle. So that statement, when it is asked, what you have to write a accommodation of social diversity. Then you have to write about democracy, develop a procedure to conduct the differences. Then, in order to respect the differences, that is a kind of attitude which develops in a democratic setup. Clear? Now, let us go back to Sri Lanka. Shivam, are you coming with me? He's not coming. Okay. Sri Lanka's condition, what was the problem? Majoritarianism. Yes, very good. What was the majoritarian policy?
Nala speaking community was dominating and the power sharing was done on the behalf of them. And because of that, Tamil speaking people were facing problems and they were feeling.
So from that experience, we have learned two lessons. What was that? It is necessary to understand that democracy is not simply the rule by majority opinion. Why the whole problem started? The civil war. It killed lakhs of people. So much problem Sri Lanka faced just because of that majority community rule over the minority. So we have to understand that democracy is not simply the rule by majority community. Of course, we know that the majority rule means whom we voted, they get a majority and we have given a verdict to them to rule. That is different from the majority community rule. Did you get the meaning? That is, after a general election, we gave a mandate to some parties. So they are ruling and they are taking the decisions in favor of the people. So that is different from what happened in Sri Lanka. Second point, it is necessary that rule by majority does not become rule by majority community in terms of religion or race or linguistic group. So Sinhalas, they were ruling upon the Tamils, disregarding their language, disregarding their culture, and they were not given any status in that country. We have learned 18% of the population was Tamils. Out of that, original inhabitants were there, 13%. 5% only Indian migrants. So these people were completely undermined. So that is not a good condition for democracy. These two lessons we have learned from the experience of Sri Lanka. Did you get? Huh? Is it clear? So how social diversity is accommodated? Huh? Are you able to answer if such a question comes? No. Huh? Little bit. You have to read it, then only you will be able to. Huh? So first thing what we have to understand is that there are differences. In a non-democratic country, the differences are making into a bigger difference. Whereas in a democratic country, they try to accommodate them. This is what. Only thing is that these points you have to include. Not question. See, sometimes how social diversity is accommodated. That way also question can come. Or I have told you ability to handle the different that quotation. How in democratic system this is happening. Understood? Which clear? Now let's move further. See, democracy remain democracy only as long as every citizen has a chance of being majority at some point of time. Election time, today's majority may be tomorrow's minority. Today's minority may be tomorrow's majority. So everyone should get a chance to become the majority. Then only democracy can survive. That point also to be added. Clear? This point, what is that? Democracy remains democracy only as long as every citizen has a chance of being in majority at some point of time. If someone is barred from being in majority on the basis of birth, then the democratic rule ceases to be accommodative for that person or group. If anyone is denied on the basis of caste, on the basis of the community, on the basis of religion, then they are not accommodative. Clear? So here, this type of pictures can be asked, and you have to understand what it tells. Here, two images depict two different kinds of. Which one? First one. Yes. Okay, let us see. Democratic politics can have social divisions. Take one example of each image and write a paragraph, each on the outcome of democratic politics. See, this one is accommodative. This one is what you have told. That examples you can write.
One that is Belgium and South Africa.
South Africa's example is apartheid the time. Blacks accepted the whites. Yeah. Now, the next and the last point, dignity and freedom of the citizens. This comes from the topic that when kingship or non-democracy is there, they are not at all considered as citizens, but they were considered as subjects. Do subjects have any right? No. Subjects are considered as servants type. They are not given any type of freedoms. They were suppressed. They were made captives. But when the status is changed from subjects to citizens, so many things are coming. We are getting certain freedoms, certain rights. We are getting certain claims. That is what happened when subjects turned into citizen status. Second thing, we all wanted to be dignified persons. Dignity. In our preamble. Sound will start, no? Okay. So let us discuss about the condition of the people, that is dignity. Our preamble gave this word Do you remember preamble? This word is dignity of the individual and the unity and integrity of the nation. So that dignity is something different. We are all dignified person means that it gave us some status. Everywhere, if you are separated, just imagine you wanted to participate in one of the sports events. Imagine only, that is the real thing. I am not. So when you go with so much interest, you wanted to participate in that sports event, but your PT teacher denied you the chance. No, you cannot. If you are separated like that in front of others, what would be your feeling? You are getting insulted. Yes. So this is what your dignity is, or your respect is ignored. You are not given dignity. So another thing is that many areas women are not ready to go for outside job. There are some reasons for it. Can you give some of the reasons? Try to give. You give it. And safety. Safety and security, if it is not assured, then safety and security, that one in that way. That is what the dignity is not assured. Now, you just imagine a family. How many of your parents, mother is also working? Okay. You both. Mother, which area?
No, it's
Okay. You. Astrologer. Okay. You. Can you tell that she is not working? She is doing more than others. So a person who is working outside is different, that they are going to the office or the workplace and then coming back, but at the same time they have to look after the other works also. So at least 2 hours more than the others, this person is working. That time what that woman expect, there should be a sharing of work. If the work is shared, they feel that they are considered as a person. Otherwise, they have to go out, do that outside work, coming home, look after the household chores. So everything alone that person have to do means she is not respected. So when that person after that office or outside the job when it is coming, the people around them will ask or talk to others that he has gone for job. That is a respect given. But at the same time, if that respect is not given, you know that the housemates are there. Most of the families, they are keeping housemates. Many families, they are not giving any respect to that person. They are thinking that, oh, we are paying, so that person has to do all this. And more than that, shouting. So, are we giving respect to that person as an individual? So, this is what, when a family is giving sufficient respect to that housemaid, that person feel comfortable to do that. So this is what the next important aspect, dignity. And you told about the freedom. security. All these things are very essential to live in the society. Clear? So here let us see what all are that. Democracy stands much superior to any other form of government in promoting dignity and freedom of the individual. I have told you that is, we are dignified person because we come from the status of subject to citizen. So that is what we are dignified persons. But in other areas where kingship is there, they are still considered as subject. Next is that every individual wants to receive respect from fellow beings. Now, about receiving respect, that we all want to be respected. So when we give respect to others, the others will respect us. These two, give respect and take respect. So respectable person, that is given in to a certain extent in democratic countries. Not telling 100% it is guaranteed, but still certain amount of respect is given. Often conflicts arise among individuals because some feel that they are not treated with due respect. Most of the fights start with that only. I have told the example of that housemaid. When they were that is, they were getting shouting from that that is what is madam of that family, mostly madam of the family, they shouted. So they will retaliate and afterwards they will tell that no. So Barakam, they didn't say anything. Then this madam has to go behind, isn't it? So that is what, when they are not given due respect, that is the reason for most of the conflicts. The passion for respect and freedom. You want to write all this points or underline? Are you? Yes. You are not writing. That is. Hmm? Chapter about to open. Yes, yes, I have to complete it. Then after this, that writes. Read down are the basis. After the practice. I'll tell you are the basis of the process. So this passion is the basis for democracies. Democracies throughout the world have recognized this, at least in principle. This has been achieved in various degrees in various democracies. Say 100%, I have told you it is not there 100%, but still to a certain extent, many of the democracies this is achieved. For societies which have been built for long on the basis of subordination and domination, it is not a simple matter to recognize that all individuals are equal. See, one example, have you heard about the Rosa Parks? No, we'll see afterwards. Just let me complete. Rosa Parks instigated the civil rights movement in America. This woman was a black woman and she was working, and at that time in the buses most of the seats are reserved for whites. If this blacks were tired after long day work, also they were not allowed to sit. If they happen to sit and a white person entered in the bus, they have to get up and give seat to the whites. That was the condition. But once it happened like that, Rosa Parks, after coming back from her work, she was sitting and a white person came to ask that it is my seat. But she refused to get up. That was the beginning of civil rights movement. Yes, yes. So what happened afterwards to Martin Luther King Jr. sparked that, and now equality to a certain extent is achieved. So that way, I have told you 100% it is not achieved, but to a certain extent in almost all democracies. Take the case of dignity of women. We know that is some of the countries still that we have learned in our third lesson. That is, women were not elected to that legislative assemblies or like that. So some countries, Scandinavian countries and some other countries, they were given sufficient representation to women. So that is what dignity of women. Most societies across the world were historically male-dominated society. What was the word used for that? Patriarchal society. Long struggle by women have created some sensitivity today that respect to and equal treatment of women are necessary ingredients of democratic society. What were that? Respect to and equal treatment. This word, this sentence also. Treatment to women. Right now. No. We have learned so many points related to that. Equal Wages Act was passed, but still they are denied equal wages for the equal work. And their status are not equal. They are treated very badly. So many points we have studied in our third lesson. So if a democracy has to work in a proper way, these two ingredients have to be there. Respect to and equal treatment. Got it? No. Respect to and equal treatment. Respect to is previous page. But once the principle is recognized, it becomes easier for women to wage a struggle against what is now unacceptable legally and morally. So many countries, this one is not accepted. That is why they are not able to fight against. So if it is legally and morally accepted, they can fight for it. Clear? That is right. In order to achieve that right, they have to fight for. But legally and morally, it had to be. In non-democracy setup, democratic setup, this unacceptability would not have legal basis because the principle of individual freedom and dignity would not have the legal and moral force there. So non-democracies, it is not legally and morally accepted. So they cannot fight also. Okay, now, democracy in India has strengthened the claims of the disadvantaged and discriminated castes for equal status and equal opportunity. We know that in our democratic system, reservations are there. So, they can demand for more rights. recently there is a very big issue cropping up regarding that the actresses. Actresses used to be exploited in that area or that field by male counterparts in different ways. So now recently it came up in a very that is a big manner that what all types of problems they were facing inside. Even it reached to that Hollywood also. That is how they were experiencing these problems. Now only it is coming up. So every area the women had to experience and have, women are experiencing such kind of treatment. But they are not having that capacity to come forward because most of the societies are male dominated society. So now if there is some legal status, then only they will demand for their rights. Clear? Now, there are instances still of caste-based inequalities and atrocities, but these lack the moral and legal foundations. Perhaps it is the recognition that makes ordinary citizens value their democratic right. So when they understand that, oh, we are respectable citizens, we are dignified persons, that feeling only make them to come forward. Our word also matters. That feeling is taking place in a democratic setup. In a non-democratic setup, this is not a functioning. Now, next point is about expectations. The most important aspect of democracy is we can expect. So we are not happy with the performance of the government. We criticize it. We are not happy with the way the things are going on. We criticize. So that is one of the most important positive work of democracy. Expectations. Our expectations never end. It is like examination only. Isn't it? You people used to tell that 80 mark exam, 40 mark exam, 25 mark exam. Your examinations never finish. After that, 15th February onwards, your board exam will be there. Examination over. 15th February to March. So when this examination gets over, you will feel relaxed for some time only. Afterwards, curious to get the result. So this is a kind of tension which then at the same time your parents start pushing you up. Your tension is not ending. So when one gets over, the other one. This is what happened in democracy also. The examination never gets over. See, distinctive about a democracy is that its examination never gets over. As democracy passes one test, it produces another test. This also can be asked as a yes. You just underline this point. As democracy passes one test, it produces another test. Do you mean it is like the examination which you are writing? It is somewhat like your examination, but what is that? We know that recently, that is in the month of May, elections were held to the Lok Sabha. After that election, always that government is in a fix. There is always thinking that what will happen in the next moment. If our that co-partners withdraw the support, what will happen? Then they have to find out another solution. We can also find that next time that other states are also facing elections. That is also some big challenge for the ruling government. So all these things can be compared to the examinations which we are facing. Understood? Democracy always face examination. When one test gets over, the other comes. As people get some benefits of democracy, they ask for more and want to make a democracy even better. They are always having more demands from a democratic system. That is why when we ask the people about the way the democracy functions, they will always come up with more expectations. This point is clear now? Let us see. And many complaints, not only expectations, they have more complaints also. So, the fact that people are complaining is itself a testimony of the success of democracy. Did you get the meaning?
No.
That is, no. When we are complaining about democracy, only in democracy we can make a complaints. So, in a democracy, we can complain. That is, we are not happy with the way the government is working. So, this is what the success of democracy. Then, it shows that people have developed awareness and the ability to expect and to look critically at power holders. See, we are telling that the government is not doing properly. Can we talk about that dictator this way? They will sit and nobody will come to know what happened. So, but in a democracy, we are directly, we can see that. Have you seen in the television channels, direct talks are there? They are talking anything and everything about the government, about the person. That is the freedom we enjoy. That is the reason for the success of democracy. But in a non-democracy, this is not possible. Then, a public expression of dissatisfaction with the democracy shows the success of the democratic project. It transforms people from the status of the subject into that of a citizen. Already I have told you. Most individuals today believe that their vote makes a difference to the way the government is run. And their own self-interest means I have voted and my government is working only because of my vote. So it makes a difference. That feeling is there. That is happening only in democracy. Non-democracies, the dictators are coming. The others are also hereditary kings are there. So all these type of governments is not working properly, or the freedom of the individual, dignity of the individual are not okay. So this few three questions I want to give you just as homework. Okay. That's one. Previous board question. Last 23 question. 23, that there is an overwhelming support for the idea of democracy all over the world. Support the statement. All the statements I have told you, that is why democracy is the better system. democracy can address all socio-economic and political problems. Second one. That is also 2023. Now, any 5 factors that make a democracy as a better form of government than other alternatives. Then, describe any 5 outcomes of democracy. 4 questions we are giving. These 4 questions you have to answer. You can find it from. Then, we just take the video of us. Or question answer you can write or not.
Yes.
Then is the no.
Now, then I have to give to face.
You can no, you have to write.
Huh?
If you are not giving some days you can give.
No. Kemana YouTube yang buka?
If he is not able, then take it. Rosa Parks and civil rights movement. Yes, Rosa Park, PA, RK, Park and Rosa Park story is there, no?
Animation.
Animation, no.
Very good, very good. लगा वाले ऊपर वाली हाँ ये भाई बस वाली boycotting जो भी है काला गोरा वाला नट है उस पर ऊपर वाला
Black.
नीचे कर रहा देख तो सही और नीचे कर ये लगा दे लगा
वाह इससे भी बड़ी खबर सुनाऊं
Every day, you live in a world that is filled with laws. When your parents drive a car, there are laws telling them how fast to drive and when to stop. Laws also say that you can't drive until you reach a certain age. In fact, there are even laws requiring you to get an education. Most laws keep us safe and make sure people are treated fairly, but sometimes laws can be unfair. What does it mean for a law to be unfair? When something is fair, that means that everyone has the same opportunity to succeed. If something is unfair, it gives some people advantages other people don't have. Do you believe that the rules you have to follow are fair? In the 1950s, many parts of the South had unfair laws that kept white people and black people apart. People of different races couldn't drink out of the same water fountains, use the same bathrooms, or even attend the same schools. When laws exist that separate people of different races, it is called segregation. In Montgomery, Alabama, one of those laws stopped black people from sitting where they wanted on buses. They were forced to sit at the back of the bus and to give up their seats if a white person wanted to sit there. This is a story about a woman named Rosa Parks, who thought this law was unfair and set out to change it. In this lesson, you will learn about Rosa Parks and how her actions helped stop the unfair laws of Montgomery, Alabama. You might have already heard of Rosa Parks, so before we start, let's take a minute and think. What do you already know about her? What do you wonder about her? On December 1st, 1955, Rosa Parks boarded a bus in Montgomery, Alabama to go home from work. She sat down in the middle of the bus. The bus began to get crowded. A white man boarded soon after, and the bus driver ordered Rosa Parks to give up her seat for the white man. He ordered her to move to the back of the bus. He was allowed to do that because the law said that buses in Montgomery were segregated. What does it mean that buses were segregated? Segregation on the buses in Montgomery meant that seating was divided by race. Rosa Parks would have to give up her seat for the white man if she wanted to obey the law. Rosa Parks made her choice. She chose to refuse to obey the unfair law. She did not give up her seat. She was arrested. She was taken to prison, charged with breaking the segregation law, and fined $10. How did Rosa Parks break the law? Because the buses were segregated, when Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat for a white person, she knew she was breaking the law. Rosa Parks' decision that day sparked one of the biggest and most important civil rights protests in American history. Black leaders in Montgomery had been wanting to change the unfair bus laws for a long time, and the arrest of such an important and respected woman helped spur on the whole Black community. Around 50,000 African Americans lived and worked in Montgomery, Alabama. Nearly all of them joined together to protest the unfair laws by boycotting the buses. Historians call this the Montgomery Bus Boycott. A boycott is when someone stops using something until an unfair law is changed. In this case, thousands of people refused to ride the bus until Black people were allowed to sit where they wanted. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., a minister and important civil rights leader, held a meeting at his church to plan the bus boycott. He was joined by other important organizers, like Joanne Robinson, who printed leaflets to spread the word about the boycott. At first, these leaders thought that the boycott would last for one day, December 5th, 1955. But after December 5th, the group organizing the boycott held a vote. The boycott had been so successful, they decided to continue it until the unfair law was changed. The boycott lasted 381 days. For over a year, Black people walked, rode bikes, or carpooled in Montgomery, Alabama. They walked through snow and on hot days. They walked even though some white people were angry with them and attacked them. They walked because they knew it was the right thing to do. Their efforts had a huge impact on the city of Montgomery. 75% of the bus riders in Montgomery were people of color. Because so many Black people decided not to ride the bus anymore, the bus companies lost about $3,000 a day. Over the course of the boycott, that means they lost over $1 million. How long did the bus boycott last? The boycott lasted over a year. On December 20th, 1956, the Supreme Court ruled that the laws segregating white people and Black people on buses in Montgomery were unconstitutional. That means that the laws went against our Constitution and had to be changed. The boycotters had won. The next day, the buses were no longer segregated. The protesters had won a huge victory in the Supreme Court, but their impact went even further. Their leaders, like Dr. King, took the lessons they learned in Montgomery and went on to change other unfair laws. Some of those laws had stopped Black people from getting a good education, buying houses in certain areas, and even voting. One of the most important lessons they learned was how to overturn unfair laws. How was the bus segregation law in Montgomery overturned? Because of the action taken by Rosa Parks, challenges to Montgomery's bus segregation law made it all the way to the Supreme Court, and the law was overturned. Some people have said that Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat on the bus that day because she was tired, but that is not true. Rosa Parks had been a civil rights activist for a long time. When she made her choice, she made it knowing that she would be arrested and believing she could change unfair laws. She was right.
Okay, any part doubt in the? Not scattered, no. Like, any coming to the.
All.
When it is
No, 16.
November. Okay, the full course is.
Pre-board.
Pre-board, pre-board. Before that, all the exams over.
Yes.
Now directly before.
Yes.